or about chapter 45, talks about the holy district. It says this: when you allot the land as inheritance, you shall set apart for the Lord a portion of the land as a holy district, 25,000 cubits long and 20,000 cubits broad. It shall be holy throughout its whole extent. This a square plot of 500 by 500 cubits shall be for the sanctuary, with 50 cubits for an open space around it. And from this measured district you shall measure off a section of 25,000 cubits long and 10,000 broad, in which shall be the sanctuary, the most holy place where God lived inside the temple. It shall be the holy portion of the land. It shall be for the priests who minister in the sanctuary and approach the Lord to minister to him. And it shall be a place for their houses and a holy place for the sanctuary. Another section 25,000 cubits long and 10,000 cubits broad shall be for the Levites who minister at the temple as their possession for cities to live in. Read it again, verse 5. Another section 25,000 cubits long and 10,000 cubits broad shall be for the Levites who minister at the temple as their possession for cities to live in. So they were allowed to live in this section of the temple, around the most holy place, because they were the only ones who could go inside the most holy place to offer, the sin offerings to God, so that God would forgive Israel of their sins. Verse 6, alongside the portion set apart as the holy district, you shall assign for the property of the city an area 5,000 cubits broad and 25,000 cubits long. It shall belong to the whole house of Israel. The portion for the prince. Let me read 6 again. It says, alongside the portion set apart of the holy district, you shall assign for the property of the city around 5,000 cubits broad and 25,000 cubits long. It shall belong to the whole house of Israel. So of course, you had this debate between, does Jerusalem belong to the Jews or the Muslims or whatever? God says here that that the temple that is in Jerusalem belongs to the Jews. So there's your answer. Jerusalem belongs to the Jews, not to the Muslims. So anyway, it says the portion of the prince. And the prince shall belong to the land on both sides of the holy district and the property of the city, alongside the holy district and the property of the city on the west and on the east, corresponding in length to one of the tribal portions, and extending from the western to the eastern boundary of the land is to be his property in Israel. And my princes shall no more oppress my people, but they shall let the house of Israel have the land according to their tribes, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. Thus says the Lord God, who's Christ, enough, O princes of Israel. Put away violence and oppression, and execute justice and righteousness. Cease your evictions of my people, declares the Lord God. You shall have just balance. You shall have just balances, a just ephah and a just bath. The ephah and the bath shall be of the same measure. The bath containing 1/10 of a homer, and the ephah 1/10 of a homer. The homer shall be a standard measure. The shekel shall be 20 gerahs. 20 shekels plus 25 shekels plus 15 shekels shall be your mina, or your money. This is the offering that you shall make: 1/6 of an ephah from each homer of wheat, and 1/6 of an ephah from each homer of barley. As a fixed portion of oil measured in baths, 1/10 of a bath from each core. The core, like the homer, contains 10 baths, and 1 sheep from every flock of 200 from the watering places of Israel for grain offering, burnt offering, and peace offering, to make atonement for them, declares the Lord God. All the people of the land shall be obliged to give this offering to the prince in Israel. It shall be the prince's duty to furnish the burnt offerings and grain offerings and drink offerings at the feast, the new moons and the Sabbaths, all the appointed feasts of the house of Israel. He shall provide the sin offerings, grain offerings, burnt offerings, and peace offerings to make atonement on behalf of the house of Israel. Thus says the Lord God, in the first month, on the first day of the month, you shall take a bull from the herd without blemish, and purify the sanctuary. The priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering and put it on the doorpost of the temple, the four corners of the ledge of the altar, and the post of the gate of the inner court. You shall do the same on the 7th day of the month for anyone who has sinned through error or ignorance. So you shall make atonement for the temple. So of course, whenever someone sinned, of course, they were supposed to throw the blood on the temple, or around the temple actually, so that God will forgive this person. But the priest would, of course, they would go inside the, like, I believe it's like once a year, or maybe wrong about that, but I think it was like once a year they would go inside the most holy place and sacrifice a animal which represented the sins of Israel, and when they sacrificed the animal in front of God, God would forgive them of their sins, the whole nation of Israel, their sins for that year. But it says right here, I'll read it again real quick. It says, verse 18, "Thus says the Lord God, in the first month, on the first day of the month, you shall take a bull from the herd without blemish, and purify the sanctuary. The priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering, put it on the doorpost of the temple, and the four corners of the ledge of the altar, and post it in the gate and inner court. You shall do the same on the seventh day of the month for anyone who has sinned through error or ignorance. So you shall make atonement for that temple." So whenever someone would sin, they would throw blood from an animal on this altar, so that person would be forgiven of their sin. So then it goes for the nation of Israel. They would go into the most holy place, sacrifice an animal in front of God, and God would forgive Israel of their sins. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, you shall celebrate the feast of the Passover, and for 7 days unleavened bread shall be eaten. On that day the prince shall provide for himself and all the people of the land a young bull for a sin offering, and on the 7 days of the festival he shall provide as a burnt offering to the Lord 7 young bulls and 7 rams without blemish, one each on the 7 days, and a male goat daily for a sin offering. He shall provide as a grain offering an ephah for each bull, an ephah for each ram, and a hin of oil to each ephah. In the 7th month, on the 15th day of the month, and for the 7th day of the feast, he shall make the same provision for the sin offerings, burnt offerings, and grain offerings, and for the oil. So that's that. So that's 45 about the holy district and the portion for the prince. How about 46 here shortly.